This is TNT Sports' Adam Summerton, and you're listening to Three Fish on the Shirt.
This is John Sander. You're listening to Three Fish on the Shirt.
Hello, welcome to this week's Three Fish on the Shirt. Flying solo this week. Steve's out and about, so we've managed on our own this week. But first of all, wanted to thank you for your support in watching and listening to our podcast. We've got great listenership and viewership this week, and we appreciate it a lot because we know it takes your time up. And we love making it. We love to know that you're listening and watching. So thank you from the bottom of our heart. First of all, if you could also please share with your friends and your fellow Mariners. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really helps us grow the audience. So if you can do that, click the little bell icon to get reminded of new episodes coming. And it also helps us and it helps YouTube push our video out a little bit further. So thanks for that. So many people who watch and listen don't subscribe, but it's really useful to us if you do. So thank you for that, and I'd appreciate it if you could do that for us. So this week we're reacting to the Harrogate Town away game. After the great start against Crawley last week, Town went to Harrogate with pretty much high expectations rather than hope, and it was really exciting to see, what the follow-up performance was going to look like. Town wore the red and blue shirts this week for the first time. The favoured red and blue shirts, but the three shirts have really gone down well this year. So I'm not sure it's the only favoured kit this season. But over 1,000 Town fans made the trip across to West Yorkshire to Harrogate to see the Mariners on a windy but blustery, sunny afternoon. It was an unchanged team for the Mariners going into the game, and the Town faithful that went along to Harrogate were hoping to have at least the spark we had last week at Bundle Park and a recreation of that. But certainly Harrogate would have had other ideas. Game kicked off, and the match was quite attritional in the first half. There was both teams struggling with the effects of the wind. Town was struggling with the wind at their backs in the first half. That seemed to be more of a problem. Harrogate were having a bit of joy with the ball holding up in the wind and then being able to get the ball down and play. Neither side created too many clear-cut chances, although Green did hit the post when he was pushing to get himself into the box. Nearly tripped over our own players to get there for the shot, took the ball off somebody's toe and managed to hit the post. So 0-0 at half-time probably suggested that was fair. But having said that, I think Town with better application and a bit more spark could have possibly been better. For Town fans, and the feeling that I seem to pick up from largely social media was that the first half was a bit disappointing. David Artell was disappointed that we should have been out of sight by half time, but I think many Town fans thought that the performance was lacking the spark that had been evident at Blundell Park the week before. But nonetheless, we soldiered on into half time 0-0, and coming out for the second half, Town were hoping for that to pick up. Things started to go pear-shaped for the Mariners. Just after half-time, in the 58th minute, Harrogate took a really quick free kick. Town weren't alive to it defensively. A ball came in from the left, and Smith took his chance in 58 minutes to put Harrogate in front. That seemed to rock the Mariners, and it took them a few minutes to settle down and get back into a rhythm. But 10 minutes later, the ball was whipped in by Green. He knocked the ball across the front post. There was a Town forward in there that jumped over it, let it go, and Vernon was waiting in the middle of the box to fire home on 68 minutes to make it 1-1. Well, that should have settled Town down. It had the opposite effect. Town got a bit jittery. We missed the opportunity to cut the ball out in midfield. Ball went forward, and Pym was left one-on-one with Duke McKenna. He rounded him, but sort of headed nowhere. Pym followed him, and rather than sort of backing out of the challenge and letting him run wide into an area where there was really not any danger, he threw himself down to try and grab the ball. Unfortunately, took McKenna with him, and a penalty was given 3 minutes after Town had equalised. So that felt a bit like Town shooting themselves in the foot after getting back into the game. The penalty was duly dispatched by Ellis Taylor. 71 minutes on the clock, 2-1. It was all uphill for Town. The quick transition that caught Town out got McAleny in, his first appearance for Harrogate after signing late in the week. McAleny was able to get his shot off from the edge of the box and make it 3-1 to Harrogate with 14 minutes left, and pretty much any Town fan worth their salt would have probably told you that was the end of the match. This team seemed to have a great deal of resilience, and Harvey Rodgers brought Town back into the game on 84 minutes. 3-1 down, Altell threw the dice, bringing on Walker, Amanazor and Gardner. And again, Town pushed for an equaliser. Walker got in from the left, played a 1-2 with McEachran, and then he saw Rodgers was unmarked on the edge of the box, rolled the ball out to him, and from 23 yards, Rodgers rifled the ball home, and I think the shot was still accelerating, to be honest. When it hit the net, it was a tremendous strike. And Town were back in it at 3-2, and you really got the sense that actually at that point, game wasn't over, and even with 5-6 minutes to go, Town were in with a chance. And that perseverance obviously wanes with each ticking minute of the clock, and the fourth official held up the board for 6 minutes at the end of full time, and Town then set about Harrogate again, and the ball was in the air in the middle of the field. Gardner, the impressive Gardner, who was all in today, got up for the ball, headed it forward for Cabia to chase. He chased after it, just got in front of his man, and you just thought he's going to score here. He's got all the confidence, and he nipped in and knocked his finish in off the far post for 3-3. And what a fan's favourite Jay's Cabia is going to be, and I think we said this last week when Steve was on that Cabia is going to be a real fan favourite, and so it proved today, pulling the fat out the fire, and a draw from the jaws of defeat. Probably did the reverse to Harrogate that they did to us. And if you think about it, it was very similar to last year's game, but reversed. We were 2 up, and we let Harrogate back into the game. But this week, we were able to do the opposite to Harrogate after being 3-1 down with 5 minutes left. We've pulled back 2 goals in the last 7 minutes or so of normal time and injury time to take a point. If you take the 2 games together, yes, it wasn't the performance of last week, but it was still a decent performance. It showed a certain level of grittiness, willing to not give in, and a game probably Town teams of old would have given up on. So, quite encouraging in that respect. But there were some great goals that would be real positives today, and the negatives that obviously the defensive lapses that let the goals in. So, given that we would have probably lost that handsomely in years gone by, we can take the positives and work on the negatives. So next up is Shrewsbury on Tuesday night, followed by Newport at home on Saturday. So a busy week for the Mariners. The ref at Harrogate today was his first EFL game, and I think it showed. There were 8 cards shown, 8 yellow cards. I think he'd booked 3 Harrogate players in the first 10-15 minutes, and Rodgers not long after that ended up booking 5 Harrogate players and 3 Town players, and it didn't seem that kind of game. So I think he could have, found his way into control probably a little bit earlier. But nonetheless, he got the penalty right, and I know David Altell wasn't impressed with most of his other decisions, but nonetheless, it didn't cause any issues for the game. So it ended up 3-3. Town 4 points from 2 games, which would have been, a decent start. I think we can all agree with that. And if Town can replicate the kind of performance from last week and do that more often this season, then I'm sure we'll be in a good place. So we've got some goal action and angles to show you. So we've got the first goal for Harrogate. Free kick was taken quickly on the screen. The cameraman wasn't able to follow the action as quick as most people watching would have liked. And the player Smith put in from the right, and his shot was ripped into the back of the net. As I say, the next goal was Vernon. So Greeny got down the right hand side, whipped the ball across. He gets jumped over at the near post, and Vernon's waiting to smash the ball gleefully into the net. At that point, you hoped we'd have got back into it, but no. Harrogate went forward. Pym took out Duke McKenna. Next up, Harrogate moved the ball for their third in a quick transition, and Town really were caught out. And it was McAleny who managed to get his first goal for Harrogate after joining late in the week. And he struck in a great shot from the edge of the box for 3-1. After that, it was the Harvey Rogers goal. Walker getting in from the left, cut inside, 1-2 with McEachran, knocked it across the box to Rogers, and he struck it into the net. And when you see it at the net, it looks like it's still accelerating. And then finally, Gardner heads on Macabia to chase. You can see that it's a tight foot race for the ball. But you just really get the feeling, because he's so quick, that he's going to get there. And so he does, and finishes off the far post to make it 3-3. So there's your angles. There's one or two alternate angles which we'll be able to show you, which we try and do from time to time if we can. Thanks to our contributors who allow us to use their clips. And that's the Town 3, Harrogate 3, and all the goals.
Goal scorer for Grimsby Town in the 83rd minute, number 5, Harvey Rogers. Goal scorer for Grimsby Town in the 92nd minute, number 9, John Sturges.
This is John Sturges. You're listening to Three Fish on the Shirt.
So I think the overall view of the game is that, we're way off what we were last week, but we're still able to manage to pull off a great escape, which says a lot about the resilience of the side, and the quality off the bench. Really, this season is going to be important. We didn't have it last year, and a game like that, we'd have probably, I think the players said it, according to Dave Artell and Harvey Rogers after the match, that we wouldn't have got anything out of that sort of game last year, and the year before that, we'd have probably lost it handsomely. So I think there's a lot of truth in that. I think Cabia getting a second goal was a great fillip for the lads, and he looked pleased as punch. And I think he's going to. I said it last week on the radio. I think he's going to be a real favourite, a crowd favourite. 2 goals in 2 games. If he keeps that up, we'll be more than happy. But no, it takes us into the next game with a bit of confidence that would have been missing had we not have pulled the game back. So all's well that ends sort of partly well, I guess, and we move on. But great effort from the Town fans again, over 1,000 there in a 3,500 crowd, which was their best ever season opener, which makes you wonder about these teams and the crowds they get, how they compete. And it's amazing that they do. So rather than being a criticism, I think it's hats off to them for competing at this level on crowds like that. So yeah, Town 3-3 draw with Harrogate. Could have been a lot worse. Got away with one in a way, but lots to please us about the resilience of the lads this season. And let's hope when we get back to BP next week, we're up for it again like we were against Crawley. Go through a few of the other results today. So the 12:30 kickoffs, Notts County were beaten at home by Salford. Salford were 2-0 up, and none other than Jaden Luca scored Notts County's late consolation, and he's now on loan there at Notts. Tranmere, who struggled for goals last year, absolutely whacked Shrewsbury 4-0 at home this afternoon with a great performance. Barrow were at home to MK Dons. MK Dons promising much, but hadn't scored this season up to today. Obviously, last week drew 0-0 at home to Oldham. And they waited till 73 minutes before getting their first through Alex Gilby. And then through Callum Patterson, they ended up 2-0 for their first win of the season. Bromley beat Barnet at home 2-0. Cheek getting on the scoreline again, so he's already in the goals this year. Cheltenham Town 0, Chesterfield 2. Chesterfield a great free kick scored in the second half in the 68th minute. Duffy getting that great free kick. If you've not seen it, it's worth having a look. Next up, Crawley, who looked poor last week against Town, largely because Town made them look poor, as I said earlier. They were beaten at home by Newport today, so you get the feeling for Crawley that's going to be a long, hard season. They were let 2 goals in 2 minutes in the 68th and 70th minute, and got one back in the 96th minute. So yeah, real struggle for Crawley this year, and you can see that they might be having a bit of a worry year right now on how those big bunch of new players are going to gel together. I think that's one of their biggest challenges is gelling a new squad. Next up was Crewe 2, Accrington 0. So good follow up for Crewe, having beaten Salford last week. They won 2-0 home to Accrington, who again was one of my tips for the bottom. Fleetwood 2, Bristol Rovers 1. So Bristol Rovers start to League 2 life is not great. 2 defeats in 2. Of course, they lost to Town's opponents today, last week at Bristol Rovers 1-0. And Bristol Rovers now 2 from 2 defeats. Fleetwood, on the other hand, has got a win, which puts them into a good position in League 2. Next up, Gillingham. Gillingham usually fast starters to the season. I think last week they drew. This week they beat Walsall 1-0 with a goal in the 58th minute from Bradley Dack. So that was a good start for them at home against Walsall. Walsall got a late winner against Swindon last week, so they've won 1 and lost 1. Harrogate 3, Grimsby 3, as we know. Oldham 1, Colchester 1. So Oldham managed to get an equaliser through Josh Hawke. So he was signed from Tranmere, I believe. Yeah, in the 36th minute. Tucker had scored a goal early on for Colchester. And then we're into Swindon 3, Cambridge 2. Swindon went 1-0 down in the 4th minute, but then scored a quick-fire double just before half-time to be 2-1 up. 3-1 up just after half-time, and Cambridge got a 64th minute goal to make it interesting, but were unable to counteract that third Swindon goal, and the game ended 3-2. So table-wise, Crewe are top, Fleetwood second, Chesterfield third, and then it comes Tranmere and Grimsby, the first teams with a win and a draw, MK Dons and Bromley, followed by Harrogate, Newport, Gillingham, and then to the teams with 3 points from 11th, Swindon, Cambridge, Walsall, Salford, and then the teams on 2 points for 2 draws, that's Colchester and Oldham, and then teams with just a point, Notts County, Accrington, Shrewsbury, Bristol Rovers are the first team with 0 points on the table, along with Barrow, Cheltenham, Crawley and Barnet. And you just get the feeling, as I said, certainly with Crawley, who I've seen this season, and Barnet, who had an absolute mare last week and lost again today. It could be a long, hard season for those teams. So, nonetheless, it's not a disaster. We'd love to have still been top, but it's early days. We did say that last week. So we look forward to midweek, which is the game against Shrewsbury in the Carabao Cup. We won't be covering that in midweek. We'll cover that off in next weekend's episode, and as we will be the Newport game. So I'm looking forward to that. It's a week away travelling for me this week, so that's why we're getting this short video off early this week, and why we're not able to do a full video like we normally would. So thanks for bearing with us. I think the consensus was this afternoon that it was a frustrating afternoon, finding ourselves 3-1 down, but the fact that we were able to fight our way back to a draw that felt a bit like the opposite way round to last year at Harrogate was a real positive, and a game that we wouldn't have necessarily pulled back in years gone by with teams gone by. So all's well that ends well. On to Shrewsbury in the Carabao Cup in midweek, and on to Newport next Saturday. Hopefully there'll be no injuries and we get a performance that's something like the original Crawley performance. Be interesting to see if there are any more additions to the side. David Artell indicated that maybe 1 or 2 targets, one that had maybe drifted away and one that a new one had come onto the horizon. There's been quite a bit of rumour about Jude Soonsup-Bell potentially being a target. He's just left Cordoba, had his contract cancelled by mutual consent, and there was a hope that he might be coming our way, but nothing's happened as yet. So we'll wait and see in the next week prior to the Shrewsbury and Newport games whether that happens. And you'll see us back next week when we react to the Newport game in our 3rd episode of the season. And as I said, thank you very much for listening to us. It's been a great ride from starting a year ago, and great to see we're following a town team that look like they're on the up and firing on all cylinders. So have a great week. We'll see you next time. And like I say, if you can remember to subscribe and share our content, let other people know about it. We'll be really grateful. So thanks very much, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot. Up the Mariners! Well, that's a wrap for this week's 3 Fish on This Shirt, your ultimate Grimsby Town podcast. Thanks for tuning in and being part of our community, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcast, through Amazon, Audible, Spotify, iHeartRadio or Podchaser, or anywhere else you get your podcast from. If you're loving what we're doing and want more match analyses, in-depth discussions, exclusive interviews, then just hit subscribe. It's completely free and it helps us grow to bring you even better content, and it keeps that Mariners conversation alive. If you want to listen on the go, just ask your smart speaker to search for 3 Fish on the Shirt Grimsby Town podcast, or find us at any of the podcast locations we've already mentioned. Drop a comment, leave a review and share the pod with fellow Mariners, because football's always better when we talk about it together. Until next time, up the Mariners!